So I wanted to ask you something that's like when it comes to creating these new IPs and these new characters, what do you look for whenever you're looking for something for a new IP or a new character? What's something that like, kind of draws out to you? If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, listen, we have this character," do you look for this? Do we look for the particular heart of the story? Do you look for the theme? What kind of stands out to
Always,
you?
that's the most important thing. If there's no reason to tell the story, and you can tell immediately on looking at something, if there's no reason to tell the story. I like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool. Okay, what else you got?
Yeah.
You need to be saying something. We can think of Lord of the Rings. We can think of Star Wars. We can think of these great Harry Potter, these franchises. They have something to express. They have a worldview that is unique and particular. I mean, we could just talk about the notion of legacy in Star Wars. What do your parents mean? What do they mean to you going forward? Are you going to be Darth Vader or are you not going to be Darth Vader? You just look at Rey and what is her parentage? In another story, nobody'd care.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, it really means something. And look at Star Trek. It's a meritocracy. It's much more like the military. What your background is really doesn't matter. What matters is once you get into the hierarchy of Starfleet, what do you do with yourself? What are the decisions that you make? Do you follow the rules? Do you break the rules? Like, how do you chart your destiny? It's a great example of how theme informs very different storytelling. But at the focus of it is, on a publishing end, you want to look at what your assets are. So if you have Delilah S. Dawson, you have a tremendous opportunity because she brings with her an audience that's outside of comics. And then if you're looking at, what's the genre? Is this an overserviced genre or is it an underserviced genre? If you're showing up now with zombie content,
then you're going to be you're out of the marketplace. There's nothing for you. Like,
we'll see. I mean, I could make an argument that there's a tremendous amount of Walking Dead fans.
But I mean,
and they like zombies,
but they already own that space in the marketplace.
Right,
so it's hard.
Right. But these are the debates that you make as a publisher. It's like I could make an argument. I'm not making this argument, but I could make an argument that if you get 1/10 of the audience of The Walking Dead, that's a good day.
Yeah.
Let's go with 1% of the walking audience. So maybe you go for zombie content. Maybe you've decided that audience is tired of that. They only want Walking Dead. They don't want anything else. You don't want to be a Walking Dead knockoff. But these are the decisions that you kind of have to mull over, and you have to think, like, where are you in the world, the landscape of what's happening?
But then there's a difference between trying to take what someone has done that's successful and then that's kind of going where the ball was, in my opinion, and you can go and try to do that.
Okay. But the thing is as much as I love Sparrowhawk, people have done fairy material, and they did it in the 1600s.
Yeah.
So, zombie, Robert Kirkman didn't invent zombies.
Obviously, yeah.
Right? So George Romero did. So Robert built off of what George did. And genre storytelling is consistently building off of a body of work that previously existed. So there's a great quote from Hollywood that is, there's only two kinds of stories that work. So the first kind is it's a new story in old clothes. Okay? So the second kind is it's an old story in new clothes. So what you need is a familiarity to the audience. So you could look at something like Mad Max and say that's a cowboy story, and it happens to be done in a post-apocalyptic environment that's really fresh and cool. And that's an example of an old story that's being done in new clothes, right? Or you can look at a new story. Well, this would be kind of like maybe everything that's coming to mind is old story, new clothes. Like I think of The Matrix, which is the hero's journey, but it's in a cyberpunk world. But your audience can take that and run with it and think about the different stories that you love and how they're done.
Yeah, and kind of just experience what they like and what they don't like.
Right. So your audience has to latch on to something.
Yeah.
And so there's a way in which if it's a familiar terrain, that would be an example of like Shaun of the Dead took the old format of the zombie movie and then did a new story in that milieu. And so your audience needs to be able to see something there. If you do new story, new clothes, then they don't have any way to relate to it.
Yeah.
And if you do an old story, old clothes, they've already seen that movie.
They're like, we've already seen this exact same thing. We don't need to watch the remake of this thing that we liked back in the day. We already have the original. We can go watch that.
Exactly. So it's like when you look at these structures, how does the paradigm shift? And again, that comes back to what's the bleeding edge of what's coming? What's the next interesting thing? you.